Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our public budget hearing. Are we good with our AV? We're recording? Excellent. So if you can, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we have all board members here except for Melissa, who is on her way, but we're going to go ahead and start. And we're going to start off with some remarks about the budget from me, Tricia. And here are just a few things that I'd like to let everybody know is that the Board of Education is pleased to propose a budget that stays at the tax cap while providing personalized opportunities for all students that empower them to be lifelong learners and global citizens. When developing the budget, the district was mindful of creating a sustainable budget for the future. Conservative spending, careful planning, and prudent fiscal management enable the district to minimize the tax burden while maximizing educational opportunities for our students. Maintaining a stable tax rate and minimizing the tax burden on our residents is always a priority when developing our budget. Lake George has one of the lowest tax rates in our county and very low compared to schools across the state. Our property owners contribute 86% of our operating support. For 2021-22, the district is proposing a tax levy at the maximum allowable tax levy limit of 1.22%. This will yield an additional $247,142 in property taxes. Based on current information, for a $300,000 home in Lake George School District, taxes would increase by $24. State aid accounts for only 10% of our revenues. We are projected to receive the minimum increase in foundation aid of 3%. A $46,713 increase from last year. To help offset the burden on taxpayers to balance the budget, the district is strategically appropriating fund balance and reserves. For the 2021-22, the district plans to use $431,494 from the appropriated fund balance and $350,000 from appropriated reserves. This represents 3% of the district's total revenue projection. Finally, as your school board, it is our mission to carefully manage resources in order to continue to fulfill the community's vision for the district and its generations to come. I may have. So Mary Ann is going to be making some remarks on the budget coming up next. And go right ahead. Do you have a copy? Oh, is that the same? I see. We have it. One moment. We just have to get the right copy.
Okay. Sorry for the confusion. I am pleased to discuss the expenditure plan proposed for the 2021-2022 year with you this evening. The Board of Education, administrative team, and district faculty and staff have worked collaboratively to develop this proposal. I would like to begin by thanking everyone who contributed to the process. Our goal in the budget development process was to maintain our programs while keeping the tax burden on the community as low as possible. Accordingly, we have worked hard to continue our longstanding tradition of excellence at an affordable cost. The proposed budget for 2021-22 does not increase spending. We are also allocating less fund balance than last year to balance the budget. This will allow us to minimize the tax impact of the next capital project. The resulting tax levy increase of 1.22% is the lowest level in many years. Throughout the budget development process, the strategic plan was instrumental in helping to prioritize items that will advance the district's goals of long-term sustainability and a safe, innovative, and engaging learning environment. Specifically, the district proposes to, for long-term sustainability, use attrition to reduce 5 faculty positions, reduce the transportation fleet by 2 buses, and continue to lower the cost of health insurance. Under personalized, innovative, and engaging learning, we will maintain the high quality of educational experience for the Lake George Central School District is known, purchase a virtual desktop interface that will allow multiple departments to access Microsoft and CAD software with the MacBooks, software enhancements to maintain compliance with Ed Law 2D, and continue investments in the district's one-to-one technology program. Under safeguarding the community's investment, we'll purchase a new van to maintain the flexibility of the transportation fleet, continue carpeting, flooring, and classroom furniture replacements as needed, maintain increased custodial support for K-12 cleaning and sanitizing efforts surrounding COVID-19. Following our vehicle replacement plan schedule, residents will be asked to approve the purchase of 1 school bus as a separate proposition. This purchase will be financed by issuing a bond anticipation note, and the first of 5 debt service payments will be made in the 2022 to 2023 school year. This will be the 10th year of purchasing buses through a budget proposition and financing them over a 5-year period, so a prior purchase will come off the debt payment schedule when this one is added, leveling the impact on taxes. The Board of Education would like to thank everyone who was involved in developing the budget. We hope the district will continue to see the overwhelming community support that has contributed to many years of success for the students of Lake George. More information on the budget can be found on our website, www.lakegeorge.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Ann. So the next up on our agenda is Mike Varney with the budget presentation. And I just want to let folks know that at the conclusion of his presentation, we do have some time for public comments. And then after we adjourn this meeting, we will be meeting the candidates for Board of Education. So Mike, thank you.
Okay, first of all, thank you to the board for your support with this budget. I think it's a wonderful budget for our community. I'd like to thank Superintendent Rutnick for her help in developing this, as well as Fran, Jim, and Megan, and the rest of the leadership team. It's truly a collaborative effort to pull all this together. So for 2021-22, as you've already heard, we're looking at a 0 budget increase. We've kept spending flat. With our 3-part budget that you see here, the administrative and capital section, we have small increases. That's been offset by a decrease in the program budget. Typically with the program budget, you would see a $300,000 to $500,000 increase. This year we have roughly $134,000 decrease. Due to the retirement incentive, we've had 10 retirements this year. Not all due to the incentive, but 10 total retirements. And I believe we have 9 next year, so we have significant planning opportunities for next fiscal year as well as a result of this. As far as budget highlights, most importantly, we're maintaining all of our programs and services for our students, and we are maintaining small class sizes for our students. Technology upgrades, you've already heard a couple things mentioned, both in terms of hardware and software. To maintain the robust one-to-one program that we have, we are upgrading MacBooks for teachers, and we are upgrading some MacBooks for a couple different classes of students, continuing with a regular replacement program that we have. And we're also making some significant investments in software to allow those students to access Microsoft and some other CAD programs that typically we would have had to have purchased a separate kind of laptop for them to do that. So they'll be able to access this software with their MacBooks now. As far as transportation, you already heard we are purchasing another van. We bought a lot of vans at the same time many years ago, and they are getting into the 140, 150,000 mile range. So it's time to start replacing those. We did buy one with this year's budget, and we've budgeted for one next year, and we'll probably have to continue to do that for the next 4 or 5 years. Ideally, having them spread out a little bit and not, so many vans with the same year. For maintenance upgrades, lots of classroom furniture. You're going to see some new flooring, significant new flooring in both buildings, as well as some parking lot improvements, some seal coating and things like that in both buildings as well. And as I mentioned, we've been able to take advantage of significant savings through attrition, but again, still keeping class sizes at appropriate levels. In terms of expenditure allocation, it's what you would typically expect for a school. We're in the people business, so the lion's share of our money goes to salary and benefits. That's 76% is very typical of any school district, give or take a few percentage points. Services and tuition, 16%. Equipment, materials, supplies, 4%. And interfund transfers. We transfer a little money to our cafeteria fund and to our special aid fund as well as for debt service, and that's 4%. For our estimated revenues, as mentioned, and I've rounded here for property taxes, our tax levy is 1.22%. That is at the tax cap. Something to keep in mind, we are not very reliant on state aid. So although some surrounding school districts really receive quite a windfall, quite frankly, in terms of state aid, that's not the case for Lake George. 10% of our revenue is state aid and 86% comes from the tax levy. To keep the tax levy at the cap gives us some flexibility and allows us to plan for the future. And keeping fund balance a little lower than normal. What this does is it allows us to take some money and put it in capital reserves and plan ahead for our next capital project. I like to say slow and steady wins the race, so to speak. If we went out with a 0%, we're going to be looking at a spike 3 years down the road when we're going out with a $5-6 million capital project to build the bus garage and things like that. This allows us to start planning ahead for that. Because if you remember with the last capital project, it was $5.2 million and $1.6 million came from our own capital reserve. So we want to start building towards that because we don't get a lot of state aid for those projects. Other revenues, I'm just being a little bit more conservative. It's down $10,000. Interest rates are so low right now. State aid, I'm going to hold off on that for the next slide because state aid is quite deceiving. It kind of looks like we're getting a windfall of state aid in terms of a 12.7% increase. But that's comparing to a number at the beginning was significantly reduced, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. And as I said, by appropriating less fund balance than we have in the past, if we have surplus at the end of the year, that gives us the flexibility to take some of that money and put it into a capital reserve. And so again, we're looking at a 0% increase. Okay, for state aid, basically we get two things for state aid. We get foundation aid, which is money that's free and clear. We can spend that on whatever we think we need to spend that. Expense-based aids, we're getting back a percentage depending on what we spent the money on. For example, we spend so much money for BOCES services, we get a percentage of that back in state aid. We spend so much money for transportation, we get a percentage back in state aid. That's relatively flat from year to year. We got the minimum increase in foundation aid, which was just under $47,000, okay? Not really a huge increase when you're talking close to a $24 million budget. So if you look at state aid before what they called the pandemic adjustment last year, we're at about a 2% increase. So you have to click on that. So last year they made a pandemic adjustment. If you remember the CARES Act, back last spring, the federal government said that we're going to help school districts basically pay for unbudgeted expenses that they needed to incur to deal with the pandemic. So what the state said was, well, we're going to cut your state aid by that amount. But you got to understand, although that money was backfilled by federal money, you got to understand all that money was unbudgeted for costs for PPE, hand sanitizer like you've never seen before, shields, professional fees for people to plan to open school, all sorts of things like that. So our actual state aid is an 11.4 increase, but basically what the state's done is just restored us to levels prior to the pandemic. I wouldn't really look at that as a net increase in state aid for Lake George. And I wanted to, and I apologize, this is a confusing slide, but after the fact and after a couple questions that I got, I felt the need to put this on here. When you look at things like the budget newsletter, we're comparing budget to budget numbers. So you're going to see that bottom line because that's what we budgeted last year. However, that's a significantly reduced number. We were significantly cut last year. So I look at our net increase in state aid as really that 3% foundation aid is the extra money that we've got. It's great that we've been restored and gotten that 3%, but it's certainly not really a 12.7% raise from year to year. In terms of revenue allocation, again, as mentioned, our local share is 86%. We levied at the tax cap again, gives us some flexibility to put some money in a capital reserve. And also, if we don't do that, it just puts downward pressure on us in succeeding years. And we're already facing downward pressure in Lake George with the tax-based growth factor. It's been going down. So we need to be careful about lowering that anymore. And as mentioned, I think 1.22% is very fair for the taxpayers of Lake George. So on a $200,000 home, you see what your taxes would go up, whether you're in Lake George, Bolton, Queensbury, or Fort Anne. Fort Anne's a little bit different right now, and I'm basing this on the numbers for 2021. I don't have the equalization rates yet for this coming year. That's probably, they won't be finalized until July. And there's a good chance that these will all be the same. Last year, Fort Anne's equalization rate was 98%, meaning they weren't completely at market value. I would anticipate that these would all be at 100% by July. So that might change a little bit, and if it does, you're still going to see roughly the same numbers. It's about $16 for a $200,000 home and $24 increase for a $300,000 home. The budget notice is really just for your informational purposes, and I wanted to include this picture because I just think it's such a cool picture from Tammy Darby's Earth Day photo contest, walking on water here. And the budget notice will give you the information that I've given you, and it'll also give you an additional column to tell you what the situation will be should we happen to have to go to a contingency budget. So in 2 weeks, when taxpayers vote, they will be voting on 3 things. The first is for 2 3-year terms for board members, which are listed across the top. And then this is an actual copy of the ballot. The budget proposition, which you see on the left, the $23.9 million budget that we've proposed, and also Proposition 1, which is to purchase an additional bus. Should the budget go down, be voted down, what we would do is present another budget, a second time, presumably a reduced budget. And should that be voted down, we would go to a contingency budget. And as you can see on the bottom, we would have to have a flat tax levy, and we can't increase the tax levy. So the amount of the budget is down there. And certain expenses, professional development, some extracurricular items would have to be cut should we have to go to a contingency budget. Hopefully that doesn't happen. As I said at the beginning, I think it's a really fair, I think it's a wonderful budget for the Lake George community. So in 2 weeks, on Tuesday, May 18th, from 9 to 8 p.m. in the elementary school gym is when we will have the vote. Thank you.
Mike, thank you very much. And Sarah or Megan, do we know if we have anybody with public comment virtually? Excellent. Well, Mike, thank you once again
Okay.
for all of your hard work and collaboration. And we can go ahead and have a motion to adjourn. And then so everybody knows, after we adjourn, Marianne will be introducing the candidates for the Meet the Candidates night for Board of Education. So can we get a motion? Lynn King moves, Rosemary seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, so now we'll be moving on to the Meet the Candidates portion of the evening, hosted by our League of Women Voters of Saratoga County. And I will be introducing the 4 individuals who are running for the Board of Ed in the order they appear on the ballot, and then we will take a moment to switch seats and get started. So the candidates are Stephen Johnson, Tricia Connor Biles, Katie Bruning.
Oh, right, that's the other thing. You want to tell them about the timers being on the
and our timers. I'm going to shift it a little bit. I also have, so that it's just kind of a double.
Nice.
But they are your timers.
And I've invited my neighbors to nudge me if I lose track.
That's good, Kathy. 30 seconds.
Okay.
Stop, and let's hear if we can hear the bell. No, we can't hear the bell, so we'll just have to say stop. Oh, you're muted. The bell?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not the bell. We'll just do stop.
We'll just say stop. We'll
Okay,
say
stop.
stop.
Is that okay?
Yes.
And you can, if you have 2 words left, finish your sentence, and if you want to continue on, just hold up your red card. I'll keep track, so you can only use 2 of them. But just say, I want to use my red card, and they will be watching. Let me acknowledge so that we make sure they get an extra minute on your timer, okay? Are we live? Oh, my.
Down here.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Meet the Candidates event for the Lake George School Board election. All candidates on the ballot were invited. This event was organized by the Lake George School District and moderated by the League of Women Voters of Saratoga County. It will be recorded and posted on the school district's website. League rules require that if a Meet the Candidates event is recorded, it must be broadcast or rebroadcast in its entirety. My name is Kathy Koprick. I am a member of the League of Women Voters of Saratoga County. I live in the town of Malta, and I will be your moderator tonight. The League of Women Voters of Saratoga County is a nonpartisan volunteer political organization dedicated to the informed and responsible participation of citizens in government. The League never supports or opposes any political candidate or party. That has been League policy since 1920. Membership is open to anyone who is eligible to register and vote, so please consider joining your local league. We have received questions from the public in advance. These were reviewed by league members and questions were selected to be representative and to avoid redundancy. Questions of a personal nature are never included. Candidates, this is your opportunity to let the voters know your stance on these topics and how you will address the issues facing the Lake George schools. Please do not waste valuable time tearing down or labeling your opponents. Deal with the facts, and in your closing, no putting your opponent on the spot with no chance to reply. We have timers for this evening's event. Cards will be held up for the candidates to glance at. Green means 1 minute left, yellow means 30 seconds left, and red means time is up, and the timers will say stop. The 4 candidates for the 2 school board seats in alphabetical order are Tricia Connor-Biles, Katie Brunig, Stephen Johnson, and Ellen Reinhold. Now it is time to hear their 2-minute opening statements. They have drawn lots to determine the order. The first to speak will be Katie.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Katie Bruning. Thank you very much for being here tonight and virtually, a new platform this time around. For the past 25 years, I have been an active volunteer in the schools of my sons, Dylan and Carson. During the most recent 3 years, I've had the honor of being on the Lake George School Board. It's been a very busy, challenging, and rewarding 3 years. In partnership with stakeholders and fellow board members, my focus has been on academic excellence, student support services, collaboration, shared decision-making, board development, transparency, improved district-wide communication, sound policies and procedures, and responsible budgeting, all in service to our students. Education during COVID has been especially challenging. Fortunately, during the pandemic school year, Lake George has been able to offer daily in-person learning for all students with a virtual option for families in need of it. I'm grateful to every district employee and every student and their families. Everyone has had to work harder and more creatively than ever. If I'm reelected, I will keep the positive momentum and continuity of our board work and expand our efforts as we meet future challenges and opportunities. As a current board member, I'm entrusted to make decisions that affect one of the most precious things in our lives, our community's children. Every decision I make begins with a question: is this decision in the very best interest of our students? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ellen, it's your turn.
Great.
Hi, I am Ellen Reinhold, and I'm excited to be here tonight. I'm a mom of 2 Lake George elementary children, Addison, who's in 5th grade, and Brody is in 1st grade. We moved to Lake George 6 years ago and knew immediately that this was the community and school district we wanted to be a part of and support. Our love for Lake George schools grew as our children were welcomed, and we had many incredible experiences here. We are so grateful for the caring people in our schools and community that have gone above and beyond. I give back whenever I am able and volunteer to ensure our family returns the generosity and care that has been given to us. I'm also involved in community events as well as local athletic programs. I feel it is now time to give back more. It's the staff and students in our district that inspire me to seek your vote to the Lake George School Board. As a Lake George homeowner, business owner, and parent of 2 school-age children, I'm committed to sustaining our tradition of excellence at Lake George Central School District for our children, faculty, and community. I do not take this responsibility lightly, and I understand the commitment to serve our district. I strongly believe the majority of any school board should consist of board members who have children within the school system that the board represents, those who will understand the current needs and changes we are about to experience and who are committed to the long-term goals. The world around us is changing. What was done yesterday isn't necessarily right for our children today, and I am willing to listen, engage, and collaborate before making decisions, representing our children on not only academics, but also athletics and extracurricular activities, which are all essential to the growth of the whole child.
Okay, thank you very much. Tricia, it's your turn.
Thanks, Kathy. Hi, everybody. I'm Tricia Connor Biles. I am the mother of 2 Lake George children. One's a recent graduate and one is a current senior. My background is in outdoor education and school leadership, and I have been on this board for 3 years, and I can tell you I have learned a lot. This district has invested in me. I've taken every opportunity to attend seminars and workshops and ask questions and apply what I have learned. I've been the president of the board for the last 2 years. I lead by leveraging the strengths of our team, and our Lake George team has many strengths. My approach is positive, procedurally sound, and action-oriented. I joined the board because I have the disposition and the skill set to meet the school needs at this moment in time. I champion collaborative efforts. I celebrate student success with our Create Awards every month. I promote an openness and inclusivity. My experience on the Lake George board reaffirms that Lake George is a community dedicated to educating our students at the highest level. We are a district made up of caring, committed professionals, parents, students, and stakeholders. I hope to have the opportunity to continue to serve and expand on our current efforts toward excellence.
Okay, thank you very much, Tricia. Steve, it's your turn.
Hi, my name is Steve Johnson. I know most of you here, but if you're watching here at home, the reason why I'm running for school board is I have a daughter in 7th grade. I have a son who will be a senior next year. I have another daughter who graduated last year. Now, as a parent, with the world turning upside down and really not a lot of clear direction from a world standpoint, I feel like I need to be part of the decision-making process and at least give my perspective as having kids that are directly affected by the changes and how fast things can change. I went to school for elementary education. I switched majors at the end. I passed the Massachusetts teacher test. Since then, I've worked in construction. I've managed multi-million-dollar jobs. I've run grounds crews. I've started my own business. I've done a lot of different things. And I feel what I could add to the board is that perspective of looking at people that I've worked with throughout the years, all the different professions and all the different things. There's a common denominator of people who take pride in what they do and they work hard and they try to learn. And there's people who are miserable. And that starts in the education system and helping to foster an environment where kids feel important and they strive to do things, whether it's a different path than someone else would go to. Trades are going to be an enormous boom in this area. They can't find qualified people to do things. I want to hopefully, get involved and have my perspective and, life experience to help guide what we're doing as a board. Athletics are huge with me. I've coached, I've watched people coach my kids. So it's time for me to give back, and congratulations to everybody for rerunning and running for the first time, because it is a huge commitment. I understand
Time's
that,
up.
but my time's up. So I'll hold on
Yeah,
to my.
you can't use your red card for opening or closing statements.
Yep.
Okay, so now it is time for questions. Candidates will have up to 1.5 minutes to respond to a question. You are not required to respond. You may pass if you wish. Each candidate will be afforded 2 opportunities to request an additional minute during the question session for a rebuttal or to expand on an answer. Please hold up your red card and wait to be acknowledged by me before you get your extra minute, because we want to make sure the timers can time you. This may only be done during the question session. It may not be used for your closing statements. Questions will be directed to candidates in rotation so that everyone gets a chance to respond first. Okay, we're going to start with Katie. The first question is, sorry about that. With declining enrollment facing our district, what are the top 3 things our Board of Education needs to focus on to make sure the opportunities offered our students are of high quality to ensure that every child in our district is able to be successful, whatever that may be for any individual child?
That's a great question, and it's a topic that we have been thinking about and studying for quite some time. One of my favorite expressions for describing Lake George to folks who are not familiar with it is that, let me have it here. We have a small school environment with big school opportunities. And that is one of the hallmarks of Lake George. And with declining enrollment, we want to make sure that those big school opportunities remain intact. We had a CASDA study to help us look at that, a year before the pandemic, to help us evaluate declining enrollment and things that we could do about that. The important things, and Mike touched on this in his report, is keeping our programs intact. We want to have expansive co-curricular activities. We want to keep our academic offerings, and that can be challenging as you have declining enrollment. We have looked very carefully at our budget to keep our budget at a reasonable amount and still be able to be creative. We have staff members who have dual certifications, so we're able to have that flexibility. I think the biggest piece is when we have collaborative decision-making. Oh, my time's up.
Okay. Do you want to continue or?
That's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Katie. Ellen, it's your turn. And if you want, I can always repeat a question.
No, I think it's fine.
Okay. Right.
So I would start with local. I'm sorry, I keep saying I'm a little nervous. I would start with local and see why. I know I have a few friends who have sent their children outside of the district that live in Lake George that recently have come to our district. And I would start there and find out why people are sending their children outside when they can come here, see what the reasons are, and see if we can improve on those to get those children to come back to Lake George. I think another big thing right now, especially, is people are relocating. A lot of people are coming from the city and coming here, or using their summer homes and relocating here and making our school, and Katie actually described it perfectly, big school opportunities. But improving on those, our programs, our electives, our athletics. I know for us relocating here, athletics was a huge part of that. I think that's huge, as well as, we can also look into tuition for local people that want to come to Lake George and don't know the opportunities there.
Okay. Thank you very much. Tricia?
Thank you. I think number one is staying true to our compass points. We have a defined mission, vision, and values. And if we keep those as our compass points, we're absolutely going to be moving in the right direction. I've seen us do that very well when, we're looking at the budget and we're still focusing on a personalized experience. We absolutely need to maximize our partnerships and leverage every dollar that we can to give our students these wide experiences in academics and athletics and co-curriculars. I think that there's opportunities with BOCES that we can partner even more. And I think that it's a very real thing with our community, and partnering with our local officials to look at our real estate market too. And, what can we do with our village and our township to help more young families move to this area and take advantage of the marvelous opportunities that we have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tricia. Steve, it's your turn.
Could you repeat the question?
I sure can. With declining enrollment facing our district, what are the top 3 things our Board of Education needs to focus on to make sure the opportunities offered our students are of high quality, to ensure that every child in our district is able to be successful, whatever that may be for any individual child?
Well, I guess part of the problem that I'm seeing from a bigger standpoint is townwide is, in the presentation before, we're based on a $200,000 home, and that's not really the reality in Lake George. The property values are exponentially higher than that, and it's not affordable for younger families to start here. It's a great place once you get here, and if you can get your roots in and you can do well and stay. But I would look at some possible revenue streams where, the robotics program, Katie, we have kids that have qualified for the Worlds, twice in a row, and then, 4 times or 3 times in the last 5 years. It's unbelievable. I mean, that's in the world. We need to maybe market ourselves a little bit as far as bringing people in. Athletics is big, but that's a really tough thing to bring students in for. Just keeping the same opportunities. There's so many wonderful things that happen here at Lake George. Property values definitely keep more families out. That's something that is very difficult. I listen to people say, hey, you know what, the school enrollment's going down, our taxes still going up. Well, they're still low, but that's a tough thing. I mean, I always support the school budget because I know people put a lot of time into the school budget, and without understanding every dynamic of it, as a taxpayer, a father, I'm in support of this. Stop. I think I got 1.5 things.
Do you want to continue?
No, that's all right. We'll keep going.
Okay. Ellen, you're going to get to answer this question first. During many Board of Education meetings, we often hear board members disagree with recommendations because the Lake George Education Association has raised concerns. This gives the impression to many that the teacher's opinion is valued more than the needs of students. We all recognize that good teachers are vital to the success of our students. However, how will you, as a Board of Education member, make sure that moving forward you keep the parents' and students' concerns at the forefront of your decision-making?
Well, I think for myself personally, I am a parent, so I am very involved within the community. I have open communication with a lot of the parents, faculty, and students in especially the elementary, but in the high school as well, through sports and activities. So I think with that open communication, I can help keep them at the forefront. And I have all students' best interest at heart, as well as the community. That answered it.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
You have a whole nother minute left if you want to say anything else.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good. All right, Tricia, it's your turn.
Yes, I think that, I definitely have personal experience with this because I'm on the board that question is directed to. And I can say that one of the things that I'm proud of this board and the time that I've been on there is that there has been more discussion at the table. And that's a good thing. When we have conversation and we're looking at many different perspectives, we want that. We want to hear more voices. We want to hear more ways of looking at things, so we are serving the best interests of the students. And I think that has been at the core and continues to be at the core of all of our conversations, our questions, and looking to get information from all quarters so that we can make responsible and informed decisions.
Okay, thank you very much, Tricia. Steve?
Yep. There's really no substitute for awesome teachers. There's really not. And in any profession that you go into, there are people who really do well at their job, and there's people who get by in their job. And keeping a positive light on things, that's what I always try to do. There's always a good way to look at things. Those teachers lead by example in any way that I could support them as a board member, giving teachers latitude to try new things, going after money for certain things that they want to do. I mean, I would have their backs. The enrichment of the kids is the most important thing. And when you have really great people doing really great things, you support them in any way you can. I mean, that's sort of the way I look at it. I'm not running out of time this time.
Okay, very good. We're going to make it through all of these questions at this rate. Wonderful. Katie, it's your turn.
Thank you. I would say in response to that every voice matters and process is so important. And I think concerns have happened when voices haven't been heard or folks felt like they haven't been heard. And the board has really championed collaboration and shared decision-making. And hopefully when these structures are working in a healthy way, when we have shared decision-making and collaboration working in a healthy way, those kinds of situations will be alleviated, because when we have that healthy structure, it leads to, I think it leads to less strife. So that's why I will decision-making and collaboration and making sure that all voices are heard in our decision-making in the district.
Okay, thank you very much, Katie. All right, Tricia, you're going to get to go first on this question. How would you deal with an issue brought to you by a community member, a faculty member, or a Board of Education member?
Well, this is a great one because I do. So, I think the very first response, if somebody is coming to me with any kind of concern, is to let them know that, their opinion is important and it's valued. And my role as a board member is to steer them in the right direction to get their concern handled. So we have a communication protocol and a line of where to go. We practice this on the board as well, where, first you try to solve any problems right at the source. And if that doesn't follow through, then you go up the chain. And we can definitely be those traffic directors as board members to say, this is the way that you can go to get this answered, and I can help you. I can also find out some information if that's helpful.
Okay, thank you very much. Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer in chain of command, where if there's a specific problem, you go to, well, first, let me back up. Somebody comes to me with a problem from the community. First, I'm going to listen to them. Second, I'm going to try to put myself in their shoes to understand where they're coming from, how they've come to this thing. Third thing is, I might not agree with them, and I'm going to express myself that maybe I don't agree with them, or maybe I do agree with them, but I'm also going to instruct them, okay, well, give me a chance to do the right thing and push this down the right path so that we can come to a solution, and not add fuel to the fire and try to garner support and get 10 people on my side to get, that thing done. And I guess listening, understanding, processing, aiding to bring that person to the chain of command, and then follow up with the person. It's not, hey, it's done and the hands are washed. These problems come back and they either grow or they shrink. And as a board member, I feel like I can offer that perspective, as I was saying before, help people to, get along and, move forward in a positive way. That's the way I look at it.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. Katie?
I love these answers. They had some very spot on things. Listening to what the person's concerns are, to understand them. And we do have a set of communication protocols, so I would guide the person in the right direction. As a matter of fact, I had a parent reach out to me recently that had seen some really interesting ideas to her, and she also had a concern about a class, and so I sent that information onto into the district, to the superintendent, and she sent it off to the appropriate folks, and there will be follow-up. That's the other piece that, Steve mentioned. We want to make sure that folks, not only are they heard, but that they feel that there has been resolution. And I think when we are listening and we're following up in this way, it builds unity within our community.
Okay, thank you very much. Katie? Ellen, it's your turn.
Can I say ditto? No. I agree with listening, understanding. I deal with public, very empathetic. And so as an individual, I would want to listen, understand, and, help. But as a board member, I know there's, channels that they have to take. And so depending on what their issue is, I would, depend on what route I would go. If I'm speaking to them as a parent, as a human, and helping them, or as a board member with an issue, I would, again, not being on the board, I don't know all the channels and the exact protocols, but if and when I'm on the board, I would learn those and do the proper procedures.
Okay, thank you very much, Ellen. Okay, let me see. Steve, you're going to get to answer this question first.
Sounds like a curveball.
No, it'll be fine. The Dignity for All Students Act was enacted and has been updated in the past 10 years. Given the rather extreme incident that occurred last week, do you feel the board and school personnel should take a closer examination of the intent and recommendations on DASA that the state has made available?
The question is, should we follow the recommendations of the state? Is that what the question is?
Yeah, and examine them a little closer. I think there was more to the question. I shortened it, and I think part of it had to deal with that perhaps some of the procedures have been implemented, but maybe not all of them. So.
To prevent, yeah, okay. Well, obviously, if there's a state mandate on something, we're going to have to follow that. Personally, the situation that happened, the other day, I thought it was handled very well, to be honest with you, in the circumstances. Not knowing all the ins and outs, not being a board member, you're able to decide what people talk about and, behind closed doors, and you're able to judge them for things that you don't hear. In that situation, I think there's huge strides that we have to make as a community and a school to make our kids as safe as possible. Having the availability of remote learning to start on a dime, that's the way of the future. Why would you ever take an unnecessary risk to put students in perceived harm's way when there's an easy way out to just switch like that and go to remote learning? Our children are going to have the gift of being able to adapt to crazy circumstances on a dime. That's the one good thing of this, if you can look at it. I'd also like to look at what possible warning signs has our staff seen of students, and more training for the staff on identifying different things. And you know what? If there's something, I'm going to keep talking on this one.
Okay, hold on. Let's make sure they got. Do you have their extra minute? Okay, go ahead.
So there's different roles in any crisis situation. As a parent, I have to rely on who is in charge of that situation and who's making those decisions. As a parent, I can either add fuel to the fire, or I can, make my decision for my family. If I'm going to keep my kids home, great. But in the effort to continue as much normalcy as we can to the situations that are going on in the world, not just in school, but everywhere else, I'm going to do a twofer on this one, so you can just keep adding.
But wait until that next 30 seconds.
Okay.
Wait until this is over. Sorry.
We definitely, there's got to be more training. There's got to be easier ways to identify possible risks to students. And there's got to be a path to, when these students are identified, to bring them back to society. And it's a.
Okay, he's doing another one.
I'm going to take it back.
Okay, you're done? Okay,
Yep.
you're done?
I still got one.
Time out. Okay. Okay, Katie.
So this is a great question, and I am fortunate enough to sit on the policy committee. And we have recently, we actually added an extra policy meeting because we have quite a list of policies. There's been some new state mandates around policies that are in alignment with the Dignity for All Students Act. And some of the topics that are in that really do boil down, when you look at it, to helping with school safety, because school safety is multifaceted. And I think when we're looking at our social emotional supports for our students, and we have some programs, I think prevention is one of the key things. And when we have a strong student support services, when we have programs like Leader in Me in the elementary school and Rock Solid in that high school to help students with bullying prevention and helping them make good choices and helping them support each other. So when we're looking at these policies, some of the things are mandated and some of the things we are customizing to what is important to our district. And so I think looking at all those things, it's the top of mind for our administrative team and for board members right now. So I think it's a great question, because this recent incident will
Time's up.
be top of mind for us.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Ellen, it's your turn.
So for me, being in elementary, I don't think I have as much information as everybody else does on this topic. I do know that I got a lot of phone calls that day and texts to see what I was doing with my children. And I could only tell them what I was doing. And to my husband and myself, we felt comfortable sending our children. I did let them know ahead of time that there may, that there were going to be more police, what the issue was, and are they comfortable? I put it in their court as well. However, not everybody's comfortable doing that with their children. So that's a tough call. I do trust that in our school district and our the superintendent and the Board of Ed and everyone who's making those decisions. And so we did decide to send them. But as far as, I don't know if I'm answering the question, but I do know as far as safety, it's a huge issue. I think that students should be allowed to anonymously say something if they see something. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's the case here. I'm rambling, I apologize. But I'm gonna just stop there because I don't know a lot about that, but I know safety is a big issue and I do have a lot of ideas on how to go forward with that, but.
Okay. Your turn,
Thank you.
Tricia.
So this year, the Board of Education initiated and instituted a new board level committee that I'm the chair of, and I'm particularly proud of. The charge of this committee is to create a school climate where everyone is important, welcome, safe, and valued. And I can tell you that we mean this. We mean this, that this is what we are about. And we work very hard to make that charge meaningful for our district. So that's one piece that I would put forward about the Dignity for All Students Act. I'll echo what Katie said about the policies that we're looking on. Once again, talking about how to take these policies and make them meaningful for our district. We have a district safety plan that's a collaboratively created document. And we have the opportunity when incidents happen to reevaluate and clarify things. So when we know better, we do better. And when new information comes to us, we can streamline the safety plan. And we do have a very strong emphasis on the student support, and we continue to.
Okay, thank you very much, Tricia. All right, we're back at the beginning. Katie, you're going to get this question first. In the past several years, current Board of Education members have often challenged the recommendations of the superintendent, especially when it comes to the hiring or reclassification of individuals. How will you work with the superintendent to support the recommendations for hiring so as not to cause extra expense and disruption in our district? I can repeat that if you need me to.
Um, I think that one of the things that I had mentioned before was process, how process matters, how voice matters, collaboration, shared decision-making. And we have a hiring policy. And right now the district is in the process of solidifying hiring procedures. And I think once we have the structure of hiring procedures in place, the stumbling blocks that have happened in the past with the protocols of hiring, we will be able to be assured that the process of bringing a candidate for recommendation has been fully vetted through that process, and will give us confidence in being able to vote. Because for me, when I'm confident in the process, I'm confident in a yes vote.
Okay, thank you very much. Katie. Ellen, would you like me to repeat the question, or are you good?
No, I think I'm good. So not being on the board and knowing all the policies and procedures, I obviously learning them, I would follow those. But just collaborating with the board and the superintendent, always having the children's and community's best interests at heart. I mean, that's how you would work together. It's teamwork. I don't know, like learning the policies, procedures, that would help, but I can't answer that any better right now. So.
Okay, that's fine. All right, thank you. And next is Tricia.
Thank you. So it is the Board of Education's responsibility to create policy and also to make sure that that policy is implemented. So in the case of hiring, we have a hiring policy. And so when some sort of unrest happens around that, we question it, we look at it a little bit more closely, and we say, well, what is the district procedure surrounding this? And if there is confusion about the procedure that supports the policy, then we ask for further clarification of that. And as Katie said, when we get that clarification, we have a path forward. And once again, when we know better, we do better. If there is something that trips us up, we get the opportunity to say, hey, this is what our policy is. Are we being true to it? Do we need to amend the policy? Do we need to clarify the procedure so everybody knows it? And I think that the perception of a challenge of the superintendent and then the support of making sure that these things are known is an important distinction too.
Okay, thank you very much. Steve, it's your turn.
All right, I'm going to summarize the question. Or just how would we go about getting along with the superintendent and not causing unrest in the community? Is that the gist?
Well, it's mostly about hiring, so as not to cause extra expense and disruption. So about hiring and
Yeah.
firing of people, because it costs a lot of money
Sure.
to do a job search, I think.
Yep, naturally, and I think Ellen hit on it really well with, not being in the shoes of a board member and knowing all the ins and outs of the dynamics of every situation and every decision that's made. I can't really intelligently say how that would be. What I can tell you is I've worked with thousands of different people in all walks of life, and I always try to find a way to one common ground. How can I make you better? How can you make me better? But the foundation of it all is how does each of these decisions that we're making affect the children? How does it affect them? There's positive, there's negative. As far as getting along with anyone, I don't know. Feel free to phone in if you don't get along with me. I've met a lot of people, and most people I find common ground with, and I'm able to, help situations better. And that's basically what I'm offering to do by running, is offer my experience and, work with all the players and try to continue greatness and path towards even better. So that's what I'm looking to do. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Ellen, this question is going to go to you first. No, Katie, you didn't get a chance to answer that one?
I did.
I think Katie
Right,
started.
Ellen, yes,
Yeah.
okay, Ellen. Yep, I told you I'd get messed up. All right. In the role of a board member, what do you feel are the pros and cons of having or not having a child or children in the district? And how do you plan to address the lack of representation of the elementary school on the Board of Education?
So I think the pros are you're in it, you know what's happening, you are vested in the children, community, the staff. I know I can speak for myself that without the amazing staff we have, my children wouldn't have the experience they have now. So seeing that firsthand, living it day to day, being part of it and immersed in it is, I think, valuable. Being vested in the future of that because my children still have many years to go. I think that's important as well. And as far as not having representation in the elementary, I do, so I can't answer that. Think I answered everything?
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Tricia, it's your turn.
I just want to say that I have had children in the district. I'm not that far from it. I have a child as a senior right now, not in the elementary school, but I do feel confident that I'm able to represent all children and families, regardless of their ages, their special needs, their backgrounds. If they're not the same as mine, I think that listening to all voices and having a chance to understand others and having a true collaborative process helps. I can also say that my professional experience is in youth development and social responsibility, working with all age demographics. So I have a finger on the pulse of youth of elementary age, middle school age, and high school age in my everyday experiences.
Okay, thank you very much. Steve, it's your turn.
Would you repeat the question, please?
I sure will.
I'm listening to what their answers and I just want.
Right, yeah, well, sometimes things go off course. In the role of a board member, what do you feel are the pros and cons of having or not having a child or children in the district? How do you plan to address the lack of representation of the elementary school on the Board of Education?
I think absolutely there should be representation of someone with elementary school children. And I got an extra card, so I'm going to sidebook. Can I sidestep the question a little bit?
Sure.
Just, as far as, I had never met Ellen before. And, it's like there's two incumbents and there's two new people. And, naturally it'd be like, hey, let's partner up. And we talked and it's like, well, I don't really know you. You don't really know me, but I like the fact that you have kids in the elementary school. And I think it's important that, for me, I've got 5 more years of children in Lake George School. I'm all in, that's what I'm, essentially, this is almost like a job interview. I want to volunteer to do this. I think, the committee that you described and the mission statement of that committee, I'm all over that. I would be great at that. So I think that having kids in the district, having representation of elementary, it keeps maybe a closer tab on the pulse to, it's my kids, they're affected when they can't play sports in the fall and they can't do these things or that thing. And I get it. Nobody has all the answers, but being part of that decision-making process when they're walking through your door every day, and not being able to, I don't know what the direction is. I want to be part of that. I want to be part
Time's
of that
up.
process.
Do you want to use your red card?
I'm
Or?
going to hold on to it. Nobody else.
Well, can't use it for your closing statement. Okay, Katie, it's your turn.
I think Elle did a really nice job describing the pros. I think the cons can be, sometimes you have to walk that fine line of being a parent and a board member. So that can be, it's not necessarily a con, but it can be a challenge. And I would say having raised two boys who have very different learning styles, very different approaches to life, while they won't currently be in the school, having that history of them being educated is an important piece. I think not having anybody in any particular grade can give me some objectivity. I attend the PTSO meetings, get the principal's reports. Being on the board, you get quite a slice of information about, K through 12. I have a ton of kids in my neighborhood, And I get to hear their stories and see them get on the bus and talk to their parents. So, and most of them are in the elementary school. So I think I can have a finger on the pulse, not necessarily, as Steve said, my child coming through the door, but having the children of the district having their stories told to me, like I said, when they ride by on their bike in my neighborhood or at events. I happen to love, I love theater. Neither one of my children have ever been in a
Time's
play.
up.
Okay.
Okay.
But I did attend them all.
Very good. Okay, this next question goes to Tricia Connor Biles first. You're going to like this, Superintendent. This questionnaire stated, I'm proud to be able to say Lake George is one of those school districts that is led by a female superintendent. During this pandemic, we shined. We stood out as a great success story due to many people, but led by our female superintendent. They then asked, why haven't we done more to promote the fact that we are one of the few districts with a female superintendent? And as a follow-up to the candidates looking to join the board, what would you do to promote this aspect for the good of the female students?
Interesting. Well, it's interesting to look at it in a gender light, and I don't know that I have solely looked at it in that manner. It is something that we have celebrated, that we have an all-female board right now, and we have a female superintendent, and we have male administrators, and we have had board retreats where we talk about diversity and representation and what that means. I think at the end of the day, we all want to be effective professionals, and we want to celebrate the fact that our actions and accomplishments are representative of all. And, we look to balance where we want to raise our young women and have good role models for them, but we want to do the same for young men. And we want to make sure that we're not tipping the scales so that we're celebrating one gender over the other or any gender. I just think that we can go forward and be proud of our actions and operate with integrity.
Okay, thank you very much. Steve?
Hey, time for perspective, right? I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, to consider Superintendent Rutnick, it's not woman Superintendent Rutnick. I don't agree with putting the label. She's gotten to where she is in the world, and she does a good job. That's, I think personally, I don't know if you noticed, but I'll state the obvious. I am the tallest on this panel here. But I just don't think it matters. I don't think it matters that she's a woman or anything about her other than either the way that she leads, what she believes, and the way that she walks. And that's really the bottom line. I could tell you, I mean, to me, anything else is, to me, it's disrespectful, but I guess it's not me to be disrespected by it, but I just, people, we're all humans. We all work together. And as soon as we can start just seeing each other as humans, and your rules aren't different from me, and my accolades come with an asterisk, or I need to, tell you, hey, there's this about me, but I did this too. It's just, I just think it's silly, but I think she's doing a good job.
Okay.
Other than that.
Thank you very much. That's a great perspective. Okay, Steve. Katie, it's your turn.
Okay. Well, I love what both Tricia and Steve have said. I think good leadership doesn't need a gender label. I think when we have programs like Leader in Me and Rock Solid, those are the kinds of things that are so important in our district. I think in our district, we really celebrate and promote leadership. I love when I go to the PTSO meetings and these little, second graders have their notes and they are telling us an idea that they have, and they are taking the lead on a project that they've come up with. So I love how our district celebrates learning leadership at a very young age. So, and I actually don't notice whether the child's a male or a female. So That piece hasn't really connected in my mind, but what has really connected for me is how well we're doing with promoting leadership in our district. And I think the board, we have really worked hard for unity and having very thoughtful board meetings. And I'm hoping that we're leading by example at our board meetings. Disagreement doesn't have to be uncivil. And so when you can have come to a consensus after a discussion, I think that's promoting good leadership.
Okay, thank you very
Time's
much,
up.
Tricia. Ellen, it's your turn.
Can I say ditto again?
You sure can. You don't even have to answer the question. I had that happen one time. But.
Well, I do feel the same way. I never thought about it as male, female. I've seen Superintendent Rutnick at school, and she's always been positive. I've always thought she was a great base to be there. I feel like she's a big presence at school, and I also feel the same way about Mr. Conway. I can't even tell you, I miss seeing his smile at the school, but other than that, you know, they've always just been a great presence, always greeting people, always so friendly. And I've never looked at it as male, female. I've just looked at it as we're very lucky. So there's my answer. And
Okay.
Mr. Kuku, I'm sorry, I don't have as much experience, but I'm sure you're smiling under there too.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to go on to the 8th question. Yes.
Can I ask
You
you
can
one?
use your red card.
I'm going to throw it in because I know we're getting close.
Hold on, let me make sure that they've got the timer going. Ladies, a minute for Steve.
Yeah, and I just think, I mean, there's great leadership in the school on many levels. And I think to focus on the gender part of it is silly, like I said. But being able to work with a diverse group of people, stepping into an unknown situation, I've always thrived in that situation. I can go in with an open mind and not a preconceived perspective of anything, and just listen and be part of the conversation, and help facilitate, growth in a positive way. And that's what I'm offering to do. So.
Okay,
Thanks.
nice use of your red card.
Thank you.
All righty. This question goes to you first now, Steve. What is your stance on allowing transgender males to play on female athletic teams? This came from the community.
I don't think that transgender males should be able to play on female teams. That's just my take on it. I think that, I guess, you know what? No, yeah, I don't think they should. I think it's boys and girls are different. As they grow up, girls grow up quicker. You separate boys and girls, and I think it's an unfair advantage. That's just my heart speaking. And if somebody feels differently, vehemently about it, I would be more than willing. And I will say, I know, 20 years ago in college, there was a trans, there was a girl. She started as a girl, and by the time we were seniors, she was a boy. So, I knew about this 20 years ago, which I know it's foreign to people, but at the same time, a person to person. But when we're distinguishing male athletics with female athletics, I think that it should be a natural separation of those two things. If there's other opportunities, or like I said, to me, it's not a good thing.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve. Katie, how do you feel about this?
I don't know that I have a strong yes or no at this point. I haven't really, I haven't given it a ton of thought. It hasn't come before me. So I guess I would have to hear thoughts on people's pros and cons. I think about our tennis team, which is co-ed. And so, males and females playing together, it's the same sport. They actually play, against each other. I remember a story when I think I was in 4th grade, and there was a girl in my neighborhood, and she wanted to play football, and there was no girls football team, and she was sort of our hero in the neighborhood, because she did end up playing on that football team. So it was it's certainly something that's been in my lifetime, I've been looking at, girls and boys sports, but I have not really thought about yes or no to transgender males playing on female teams.
Okay, that's good. Ellen?
So, being an athlete and having two young athletes, I definitely feel there is an advantage to genetically to that. And with certain sports, I would care more than others as far as safety and contact sports. So I can't say I'm for it, but I don't want to go there too much. So I'm going to just keep it at that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Tricia?
Well, I think that these are the conversations of our times. We have shifting societal norms, and we have to engage in these conversations because they are before us. We have a distinction in our policy that, gender is an identity where sex is more based on the physiological being. And in athletics, we actually looked at that language and we're saying, well, what is that? So we do have a policy that I feel comfortable with. That said, going back to the Culture and Climate Committee, we want everyone involved in Lake George to feel important, welcome, valued, and safe. That is everyone. And so that means that if we have a situation that arises and somebody's not feeling that way and wants to be included, we are nimble enough as a district to solve that problem and to talk about that in a kind and inclusive and welcoming way. And I think that we have the capacity to do that without having some sort of a us versus them or polarizing argument about it. I think at the very end of the day, it's about our students and having them involved.
Can I use my red card?
Yes, Ellen. Ellen wants to use her red card, so a minute. Okay.
So just to, piggyback on what Tricia said, I agree with you. Everyone should be inclusive and feel included. And so you have one child who wants to be included, but now you have another child who doesn't feel safe because of that contact sport. And so it does, I'm not saying that that everyone shouldn't be included, but you have one person's freedom takes another person's freedom. So it gets very complicated and it's not cut and dry. And it's, I don't want to say that I don't agree or I agree. It's just not black and white. And there's a lot of gray area in there. So I just wanted to put that.
Thank you. Okay. This is kind of a follow-up question, I think, so you can express your thoughts a little more. It's going to go to Katie first. How would you help to address and ensure inclusiveness as well as equitable recognition of different groups, race, religion, sexual orientation, sexual identity, I guess, in the school system?
I think one of the things that Tricia had mentioned in our Culture and Climate Committee, that is something that is on the forefront of our minds. I guess I feel like we are very inclusive of all different groups. I'm trying to think of an example of within the district of us not being. I know one of our, if you look on the our goals for the district, student leadership, engagement, and diversity. It's that at the Strategic Planning and Review Committee placed that as a priority when we made that plan 3 years ago. It's something we're looking at again. A policy that has come through is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So as we are working in updating our strategic plan, that has been a big topic of conversation to make sure that we are looking at that and making sure that that's just woven into the fabric of our district, that it's within our classrooms, within our curriculum. So it's definitely at the forefront of our minds as we're moving forward with policy and strategic plan.
Okay, thank you very much. Ellen?
Do you mind repeating?
I don't mind at all. How would you help to address and ensure inclusiveness as well as equitable recognition of different groups, be it by race, religion, sexual identification, sexual orientation, in the school system?
So not being on the board, I'm not sure how policy and procedure would come into play with that. But as a parent and a person, we always teach our children to include everybody. It doesn't make a difference if what color or race or gender you are. We have, at a young age, welcome all girls to play baseball if they need to, and if there's no team. And we have, I'm talking about the first grade level. We have, there's children in situations that come up in my daughter's class that I have to explain to her that, people are the same people and you cannot look at them differently and just look at them for the person they are. And so as a parent and a person, I would continue that somehow in the policy and procedures of what the board would do, but I don't know what those are, not knowing them, but just be a good human.
We all want to be that. Thank you. All right. Tricia, it's your turn.
So at the board level, the policy is where it starts, and we have a number of mandated policies. And we have the other that Katie mentioned about inclusivity and diversity. And the board is spending a lot of time looking at these, cross-referencing them, making sure that we have meaningful implementation of these policies. And we also celebrate the create values of our district. And that is extremely important to me. And I see it embodied with, these nominations of students and faculty and staff who come forward who are living this, and we're holding them up as an excellent role model and example for others. So I do think that this is an opportunity for us to live it. But at the baseline level, we do have policies, and this Culture and Climate Committee is a forum where we get to hear the stories of how we are implementing them and how we are working hard to do even better. Because some of the topics that just came up, these are things that aren't easily solvable, and there's a lot of conversation to figure out what is best for Lake George and what is best for Lake George to represent in our larger community of New York and the nation and the world.
Okay, thank you very much. Steve?
Yeah, these are some really good questions for the people who had put them in, so thank you. Inclusion for everyone. I mean, I guess these aren't these problems continue throughout the workplace and all the way up through with everywhere you go with training and trying to change culture. What I can do is lead through example, be a positive force on the board, go to different events where different kids are shining in different aspects, whether it's sports or whether it's academics or 1 minute. Okay. So just being a positive example, but I think, separating out to make different rules in it, it's sort of a slippery slope, I guess, because here's the guy who just said no, that a male turned female shouldn't be able to play female sports. I guess the bottom line is I'm going to give you an answer and I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. And if you want to try to change my mind, I'm more than willing to listen and come to common ground. But I'm not afraid to talk about any subject. I'm not afraid to I don't like to be on the fence on things. It's either yes or no, and then, hey, let's move forward in that direction, or let's not. Let's adapt and overcome. So diversity, all inclusion, I think it's sort of a no-brainer. I mean, it's society, it's culture, it's leading by example. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you very much.
Can I use my card again?
Yes, very good. Everybody should use their cards. There's only one last question. Okay.
I also want to say that I think education at a young age is huge for inclusion. So some of these things that are arising, my daughter is she's a little naive in a good way, and I love that. But I think education so that they are aware of what's going on in the world is very important. And I'm unlike Steve, I don't like conflict. I don't like politics, but I love our children. And, I'm here to do what's best for them and the community.
Nice. Can I get my
Yes, and then we've got another red card. You ready?
all set?
Yep.
So one of the conversations that we're having at the board level is really talking about some of our polarizing and divisive issues that are in the world today. And part of inclusion and understanding is promoting intellectual inquiry. So we are, in essence, teaching our children how to think, how to engage in civil discourse for some topics that can be very difficult and hard to understand. It is not our job as educators to tell children what to think, but we are encouraging how to think, how to converse, and how to unpack all of these things that are in front of us and hopefully help people self-advocate and feel safe and comfortable doing so.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else want to use their red card?
Well
Okay.
said.
So this question probably is going to help with your closing statements because it probably has, you'll be able to expand a little. And the first person to answer this is going to be you, Ellen. What are the events or reasons that have motivated you to run for the Lake George School Board?
So the reasons and events, one, I'm a parent of 2 young children in the Lake George School District. I am very involved in the community. I am very grateful for everything that the community has given us since we've been here, and I want to give back. Not having any board members with children in the elementary school was a big one for me. I think it's very important. And that's really it. I'm really excited to learn, grow, and give back to the community and be a voice for all of the parents, faculty, and staff that has been so good to us.
Okay, thank you very much. Tricia?
Thanks. In my opening statement, I mentioned that I believe that I have the skill set and the disposition to meet the needs of the school at this moment in time. And that is not to say that I am some superhero that has all of the answers, but I do have a strong foundation in collaborative leadership. And I see that as a need right now. I see divisiveness and I see an opportunity to bring people together to leverage the strengths that we have in our district. As I said before, and I will continue to say, we have so many strengths. I have great admiration for my fellow board members, our superintendent, our administrative team, our faculty, our staff, and I would like to support that. I have a lot of investment in education. I love thinking about education theory, talking about it, and then seeing well practices. And so I'm running because I care very much and I have a lot to offer.
Thank you very much. Steve, it's your turn.
All right, why am I running? I think I hit on it on my opening. It comes down to how fast the world is changing and where are we going, and who's leading the way. And that's, I want to be part of that discussion. I want to be able to collaborate and, like I said, contacting every business within 30 miles of here and say, who are the next 5 people that you're going to hire? What's the demand locally for a craft or, whether it's engineering or any of these things? What's the demand right here? Because, kids are going away to college and they're not getting the college experience and they're going into debt. I finished paying off my student loans when I was 42 years old. I worked all through college. I learned a lot of things and it was great, but practically, let's help kids to get understand that there's so many different avenues that they can take and be successful and feel good about themselves, much like you're saying with everyone. Whether your job is to do this or this or this or that or the other thing. They're all important. It all makes our community stronger. And it should be celebrated. People should feel good about themselves. They should want to do better. They should want to learn. Why am I running? Because I feel like I can make a difference. A local level running a race is how you can make a difference. There's not a president that's ever lived that will know my name or care anything about me. But at a local level, decisions that are being made that affect things in my own home.
Time's up.
Okay, great. So,
I have to answer that one.
Okay, you want to use your red card?
I haven't answered yet.
You do that. Oh, yeah. I was getting busy doodling.
That's
Okay, Katie,
okay.
go
That's all
ahead.
right. I love this district. I love Lake George. I am so glad that we moved to this district. We came from a large, really well-respected district, but when we arrived here very quickly, I said, I wish every child could go to Lake George. It has just been such a phenomenal experience. And I have always been involved since preschool of my oldest son. I've been involved in their schools. And this has certainly been the most intensive, challenging, and rewarding involvement that I've had for schools. But I've enjoyed the work. I feel like I have made a difference. I feel like I will bring some consistency that's needed. We've had a lot of change on the board, and I think we need some consistency. I think I will bring that to the board. So I would like to continue the good work, and I would like to be part of the great things that are to come. And I think that I have made a difference, and I can make more of a difference. So and bring my love and passion to the district.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. You told us to tell you if things got out of line. So
Right.
here you are.
Keep me straight. All right. It is now time for our closing statements. Candidates, you have no more than 1 minute each. And Kathy will tell you when your time's up. Please remember to unmute. Oh, yeah. So first to speak is going to be Katie. We're going to go in the same order we started.
Are you ready? Okay. If I am reelected as a board member, I will bring continuity to the work of the district. I plan to continue to listen and understand the needs and concerns of the community, champion ethical standards through transparent, collaborative, and fully informed decision-making, set the direction of our district to achieve the highest performance through strong academics and co-curricular opportunities while supporting students' social and emotional needs. I will be a steward of the district's tax dollars by helping to develop a responsible budget with input from school professionals and community members. I will continue to promote student-centered decisions that support a healthy school culture for working and learning. Re-electing me will bring consistency and help to uphold the momentum of success, always striving for improvement and excellence. Thank you again for being here tonight and for your dedication to our district.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ellen, it's time for your closing statement.
I'm certain my experience as a small business owner, involved community member, and concerned parent of young children will bring value to my position on the board. I'm committed to putting in the time, understanding the issues and opportunities, and being the voice for this community, advocating for students, faculty, families, and the district. A strong school sets the benchmark for a prosperous community, and I love where we live. Thank you so much for all your support and allowing me to be here. A vote for me is a vote for our children and community.
Okay, thank you very much. Tricia,
Thank
closing
you.
statement.
I just like to say that, being here amongst all of you and this investment in Lake George buoys me and makes me so happy and reaffirms my faith in our investment in education here in Lake George. The challenges we face here in Lake George as a district are not necessarily all that different from other districts. And sometimes other districts face other problems that are more severe, but what's unique to Lake George is the passion, the dedication, and the ample resources we have at our disposal to become truly exceptional. My commitment to board service is anchored in this ideal. Lake George has a responsibility to position itself as a model of educational excellence. We have the professional capacity, the student-centered focus, the capital resources, and the drive to achieve greatness. I have the skills and the demonstrated ability to leverage the strengths of our district and move us in this direction.
You're done. Sorry.
That's okay.
Steve?
Oh, geez, I only got a minute, so I probably won't get it all out. But thank everyone. It's been nice debating with everyone. I really think there's some good candidates here. So I think that Lake George benefits from this process. I'd appreciate your vote. for school board. I think I would do a great job. You know, my various background of doing different things, construction, budgeting, leading people, coaching children, being a father. It just brings a different perspective to 30 seconds. It just brings a different perspective, and I'm willing to donate my time and my energy and my passion to try to be the best contributing board member that I can. You know, help make things better, help facilitate greatness, because we're already on a great ship, and I'm willing to lead or be led in a way that in collaboration, and that hopefully I get on the board. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you, everyone. All right, please vote May 18th. Ballots can be cast between 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. at Lake George Elementary School, 69 Sun Valley Drive, Lake George. Applications for absentee ballots can be found at the school district website. Those of you who want an absentee ballot mailed to you must send in a request by May 7th. Alternatively, absentee ballots will be available for in-person pickup until May 17th at Sarah Barton's office, district clerk, here at the junior and senior high school. All ballots must be returned to Sarah Barton, district clerk, by 5 p.m. on May 18th to be counted. Thank you, candidates, for attending this event and helping to educate the voters about who is running for school board. You are all wonderful. You did a great job, and I really appreciate how well you followed the rules, and I think you did a great job. All right, and thank you, audience, for showing, members, for showing interest in your community. Remember to vote, and good night. Bye.
Kathy, thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you. Everybody. That was great.